how's it going everyone? I'm gonna be looking through and reviewing the trades that I took on GU yesterday. As promised, I'm gonna share exactly how I saw these trades and what were the reasons for me to take all these trades that I have mentioned. And yeah, let's just go through exactly what happened and what my thought process was throughout the charts. So let's look at the first trade that I took, which was basically the start of the bearish move down. Um, so just looking at price in this area alone, let's break it down, right? So we can see that we had this impulsive move up with quite a lot of imbalance left behind here. So that was one of my indicator that we are or we may expect price to come back down and potentially clear that imbalance cleared, because this was an impulsive move that was most likely due to something that was not basically expected in this price action here. You can see how it was very steadily moving up, creating higher highs and higher lows, and it was pushing back up until this impulse instantly came in. So basically, I saw this impulsive move candle, and I saw a bit of a slowdown, right? You can see that this impulsive candle had a huge wick, so two candles and both of them wicked, and then we saw price slowing down and basically struggling to move up, right? So in this case here, we also see that these candles, right, basically the high of these candles and then this low was the main indicator for me that, okay, in this case, we're going to be changing trend and potentially seeing a bearish move down. So these were basically my change of character indicators as to what was happening. We did break structure over here and over here to create new lows in this area, and this candle specifically was the reason for what caused the break of structure and the change of character. So in this case, what I did was I waited for a mitigation of this zone here, which is created by this candle, and I took a market execution of this, which is why you see that my trade wasn't exactly on this line here, but it was a bit further down. And this trade was taken with a 3 pip stop, which was then run all the way down, right? So then we move on, okay? We see this push down, right? As soon as, of course, as soon as this structure was broken here, my stop loss was set to entry, and I just held it all the way. Then we come to this point, right, where we basically see this price action going on, right? We see another change of character here, where we basically had a break of structure here. So what I did was, instead of just holding and hoping that my short may follow through, I was following what the market was telling me, and so I took a long entry here because of this change of character, as well as this higher high that created a break of structure on this region. And over here inside this is a second time frame candle that I spotted on my C trader. I don't have premium for TradingView because obviously it's very overpriced to me, so I use C trader to look on the second time frame on my other monitor to see and look for more accurate candle markups. So basically what happened was I took a long here from this zone, and you can see an instant reaction of that zone. And basically as soon as this was potentially broken, my idea was, so as soon as it created this high, I set stop loss to entry here and I just waited. So unfortunately for this case, it did hit my entry point, but at the same time, that tells me that we're not changing our trend from bearish to bullish because of this change of character here. So what I did was I looked at what caused the break of this demand zone here. So in this case, the cause for this break of demand zone was this candle over here, the last buy candle before the sell, that also caused a break of structure as well as a break in this demand zone. So this demand zone essentially was not respected, and that was because of this candle over here. So that candle was marked up, and I waited for a mitigation of that point. So in this case, you can see that the mitigation was pretty quick. And in this case, I set an order over here where the mitigation happened because I was expecting a bit of a fast mitigation and I didn't want to enter late because then my stop loss would have to be quite a bit bigger. So over here, stop loss is set at 2 pips. The mitigation had occurred over here, and then we were just waiting for price to push down. Now, as price continued to push down, you can see that it wasn't an impulsive move where price just basically dived all the way down, but it was a slow process where price was, gradually moving up. Again, same thing here. You can see that the market always replays certain bits where we can see that this basically replayed over here again. And when this replayed, of course, you can see from my chart markups, the same thing happened over here, right? So if we look at what happened here, now because I lost this demand zone trade previously, I was convinced that we are now going to be expecting more bearish momentum kicking into the market. So what I did was I did mark up this demand zone, but I didn't take a trade off it, right? And funny enough, if I did take, of course, it would have been respected and it would have pushed up, but it instantly came back down and broke it, right? Now again, we see a demand failing and also a change of character that tells us that okay, because we had a change of character here and we had a demand zone that created a break of structure and a change of character, that tells us that there should be a reaction of this, or maybe this should be respected if we're turning bullish, right? But in this case, we did not turn bullish, but instead we followed through by continuing bearish down. Now, because this demand had failed, that tells me that now supply is basically kicking in, right? We've got more bearish momentum kicking in, which means that supply zones are going to be respected a lot more, right? So that's what I did. Now, because this demand zone was not respected, I looked at this supply zone, which caused the failing of this demand zone here. Now, if you look back again, same thing, you look at what was the candle that caused the break of this demand zone, we can clearly spot this candle here, right? So same thing, I had my entry on the distal of this supply zone, and then I had my stop loss, which is quite a bit tight because for me, if this isn't respected, then we could be expecting, so basically if this zone here, right, just above this high is not respected and we see price doing something like this, right, where it breaks this high, then we could be looking for a long trade in, right? So if this zone isn't respected and it hits my stop loss, then I wouldn't be looking for shorts anymore, but I would be looking for longs all the way up. So let's just look at what happens next because this demand fails, right? So again, same thing, order set there, right? We see price sort of hovering around this area and then it mitigated that point and it pushed down instantly, right? So if we just play price, continuing price down, again, so what I saw here was we had this supply zone as well. Now this was a trade that I did not take, mainly because I didn't want to have that many scale-ins or trades running at the same time. And at the same time, what I noticed was that price was kind of slowing down. So instead of seeing stuff like impulsive moves down and then you see basically continuations, I was starting to see high highs being created and then, price slowed down basically a bit. So in this case, I did not take this trade and we'll just let it play. Right, so at this point, this trade would have been respected if I took it, but I did not. And then over here was basically a point where I saw some sort of change of character, right? Now you can see the price had moved up a lot, and this was perfectly fine because up till this point here when I took this short and I saw a change of character over here, and this would have been on the second time frame, so I will be showing screenshots of it in the group later on how this looked like. But on the second time frame over here, we basically had a change of character where the low was taken out as well as the high, and then we had this candle over here. Let me zoom in a bit so it's a bit clearer. So essentially what happened here was this would be a bit more advanced than the normal way. Again, this is a trade that not a lot of people would have seen clearly, but it was something that I've been looking at quite often now and seeing these impulsive move down, and then you basically get an impulsive move back up, and then you'd be wondering, so it basically looks like this, and you'd be wondering, where's the mitigation? There is nothing here to mitigate it, right? So essentially what happens is you see an immediate change of character and a push up, which is exactly what happened here. So what happened was that this was the low of the candle, right? This low. Now this low was broken by this candle here, and the high was broken by this candle here, right? So we had low broken, high broken, change of character, and then this bearish candle here was a mitigation of that point. So when this was mitigated, that was exactly when I closed all my trades and basically changed my bias. So up till then, we had all these 3 trades running. Now initially you could see that my take profit target was all the way down here, right? Sorry, not down here. Yeah, just about here. And of course it didn't hit it, but that's okay because what we saw was another change of bias over here. So we want to follow through with what the market's telling us and not try to be predictive of what's going to happen, because you don't actually know what's going to happen. You may have order blocks that you've marked up and stuff like that, but they may not necessarily go to those specific order blocks that you have marked up, right? So instead of hoping that the market does move towards your order blocks and mitigate them, what you should be doing is being reactive of what's happening. So if it's not going to react off your order block, what is it reacting off of? Can you take a trade from there? If so, why are you going to take a trade from there? Why is it valid? You should be asking yourself these kinds of questions when you're looking to take trades off points in the market where you see price reacting off of something, right? So essentially, this was a sort of simple review of what happened when I took all these trades and what my thought process was behind all these trades. And as you can tell, I sent a group message today earlier saying that not a lot of things are clear and there aren't many things for me to, sort of take trades off of. So as of now, for today, there aren't many trades for me to take. So for me, it is okay because from a single day alone, these were all the profits that I could have I basically took. So I don't need to trade every single day. If the market isn't clear, I'm not going to trade. If it's clear, by all means, I'm going to take more trades. So just remember, if the market's not clear enough, just don't trade, because there are a lot of other days for you to trade. Now that would be all, guys. If you guys have any questions on how I took these trades or anything, tag me in the group and I'll be happy to answer them.